Hello, my name is Eric Metzler.
And I'm John Calhoun.
Sitting with us today is Bob Lee Maury. Bob is the Director of University Libraries at Wittenberg University, Springfield, Ohio. And we're sitting here today in the James Kemper Rare Books and Archives room.
Eric, John, I'm delighted to have you with us tonight. I don't want to make this sound like a plug for Wittenberg, but I think I need to make some explanation about what you're seeing around the room tonight. You might know that Wittenberg is, of course, a Lutheran college, and this happens to be the 500th anniversary of the birth of Martin Luther. So we are having some things pertaining to Luther on display.
Recently, Eric and I had the rare opportunity to go to his home in Mendham, New Jersey, and videotape an interview with Dr. Des Passos. And we asked such things as some of his early adventures, things about himself, and also the significance of his books and journals. And following is that interview.
He was born in New York City on 7 February 1887. The only child of Benjamin Franklin Dos Passos, a lawyer, and Isabel Quaker Strong, both of New York. I entered the law office of Dos Passos Brothers, of which my father, then deceased, had also been a partner. I was admitted to the bar of the state of New York, being then 22 years of age, and practiced law in New York until 1928, when I retired. Within a year after my retirement from the practice of law, I took up the study of entomology, and about 1930 was introduced to the late Dr. Frank E. Lutz, then curator of the Department of Entomology at the American Museum of Natural History. After working on the museum collection of Lepidoptera for several years and learning something about the subject, I was appointed in 1936 a research associate in Lepidoptera on the scientific staff of the American Museum. I became interested in Lepidoptera shortly after retiring from the practice of the law. My wife and I wished something to do together, something of interest to both of us. I proposed taking up painting, but that did not interest her. So we eventually bought Holland's Butterfly book and Holland's Moth book and started on Lepidoptera. I collected the butterflies and she collected the moths. That summer we spent at my camp in Maine, where we ran a light every night and connected a great number of moths.
Can you still remember what species you first caught, the first butterfly you ever caught?
No, I don't believe I can. But the first one of importance was Colliers interior, and had been a great deal of doubt as to the range of that butterfly. Fortunately, I found it at Rangeley, Maine during every summer, and I brought down some for Mr. Watson, who was then curator of the Department of Entomology. But whether that was the first butterfly I ever caught, I don't think it was, but it probably was a Colliers or something that occurs in the spring that hibernates all winter, like Antiopa. What do you feel are your most important contributions to the study of Lepidoptera? I feel that the most important contributions to the study of Lepidoptera was the collection I made of type photographs, the publication of a checklist, and making up a very substantial collection which eventually went to the American Museum of Natural History and contained 65,300 178 specimens, all Nearctic.
Where are the photographs, the collection of type photographs?
Well, the photographs are in two places. They are at the American Museum of Natural History, attached to my card index of all North American names, and they are some great many published.
Wonderful.
The significance of my collection of books and journals can be appreciated by anyone scientifically inclined. In order to do a scientific paper, you must go back to the start. That in butterflies is when the butterfly you're writing about was first named. Now, if you don't have a photograph of it, you must get one, and sometimes that is very difficult. The significance of my collection of books and libraries is, as before stated, and also is involved in its location. I chose Wittenberg University because it is somewhat centrally located, much more so than the museums in the East and those that may have collections in California and along the Pacific coast. What were your first acquisitions? Does that mean in books?
Or in butterflies. I think either one would be very interesting to know.
Oh, well, of course, in butterflies, my first acquisitions were those that flew close to home and could be picked up on a short trip afield. As to books, my most important acquisitions were Huber's works. Those I bought on and off during the years from London, where I had an account with some of the leading bookshops.
Excuse me. What was your
Pardon me?
What was your most difficult piece of literature to acquire, do you think?
Well, my library is complete today, with very few minor exceptions, which they always were difficult to buy. One is a monthly journal published in London and edited by Hemming. Francis Hemming was secretary of the Commission on Zoological Nomenclature and was a very well-read and educated person. He has since died. The only unfortunate incident I had, wasn't too unfortunate, was in the Dolomites. They're in Austria, you know, and they're very hard climbing. And one of the rarest butterflies that occurs there, and which I went there to get, is an Arabia. And I learned a good lesson not to hunt butterflies downhill. They occur on these rock slides that are very steep. They don't look too bad from a distance, but when you get on them, they're asleep. And this butterfly lit below me, and I was edging up on him, and I missed my footing, and I ran downhill. You can go rather fast downhill. And I knew of no way to stop but to throw myself on the ground. And I injured one leg, my right or left leg. I cut it rather badly. I didn't break anything except my eyeglasses. And when I was collecting with a friend and his wife, Dr. Higgins, who's an Englishman, and fortunately he's a surgeon. And there was a new doctor in the village where we were stopping, and the new doctor didn't care about doing any surgery right away. But he was glad enough to loan us his needle and thread and everything else that we wanted. And he sewed up my leg on the spot. I didn't get any trouble from it. They say at such high elevations there's very little danger of any infection. And then healed up, but you can still see the signs of it.
Tell me, did you capture any of the Arabia that you had?
I don't think I caught that one. Flying. My eyeglasses, I had to pick them all up after my net, my killing bottles, and everything just went flying ahead of me. Well, you can give my regards to the members who show up for the meeting. I don't know who they'll be.
Well, I believe that when we show this tape, you'll discover that you just did give your regards to them.
Wittenberg University is a private church-related college in Ohio that's 135 years old. When it was founded for the purpose of educating ministers. But it was also founded for the purpose of educating people to be decent human beings, good citizens, and productive citizens. In the 135 years that this school has been in existence, we have tried to build a library that would provide the facilities to educate the creative, quote, the creative minority. This particular collection that we're looking at right now is a gift of a man who devoted his productive life, materially productive life, to the law. He became a self-educated scientist, and in my opinion, perhaps his contribution to culture through his efforts in science outweighed his material production as a lawyer. This collection came to Wittenberg in 1964. It is one of the major gifts that the university has received. There are quite a few very rare books in it. Books that are rare not only because of their age, because of their material value, or because of their beauty. But it is an important collection because it is the library of a working scientist. As I walk down here and just pick off some items at random. This particular one is the natural history of the rarer lepidopterist insects of Georgia, a collection of 72 hand-colored plates, no text. Purchased from Freeland and Whaley for $56. The 2nd of June, 1961. Hand-colored plates. This is the second issue of this particular book. Cyril happened to have the first edition of this particular book in 2 volumes. This one is still very rare, even though it is incomplete. Here is Drury's Exotic Entomology, Volume 1, 1851, Figures and Descriptions of Foreign Insects. Butterflies of North America, Memoirs of Travel, Sport, and Natural History. In the interview with Cyril, he mentioned a man named Hemming. Here is, I wish my Latin were better, Francis Hemming's Annotationes Lepidopterologica, Volume 1, published by Hepburn, 1960 to 64. Lepidopterum catalogus, a very extensive collection of the works of Carl Linnaeus. Linnaeus, 1766, 67, 49, 63, another 67. But in one sense, probably the most important part of this collection are the state publications. Report of the New York State Entomologist, Ohio Entomologist, Dictionary of Alaska Place Names, here is the Entomologist of London, dating from the Entomologist Monthly Magazine, volume, where does it start down here? Volume 1, 1864, splitting right on down through the 1980s. Canadian Entomologist, the Annals of the Entomological Society of America, Index to Life Histories of North American Macrolepidoptera, monographs of the Pyrene genus Delius. I'm not quite sure how Cyril got involved in this. In his introduction or conversation with you, he said that he and his first wife decided they wanted to do something together. I'm getting ready to retire. I hope my wife and I can do something. I'm not sure butterflies will be it, though.
That's good.
Cyril came from an old New York family. He mentioned his maternal grandmother, Mrs. Strong. Her father was the publisher of Yankee Notions, which was one of the early American humor magazines, published by T.W. Strong, Nassau Street, 1854. Cyril gave us a complete run of that, except for Volume 1, which we have not been able to complete, and we're still trying. Now let's see, what else? But I'd like to repeat, this is the library of a working scientist. The important parts are the journals, the complete runs of journals, not only of American, but of French, German, some Russian, 1 or 2 Chinese, some African. But it's a textbook collection too, that just happens to have some extremely rare and very valuable books in it. Now, what's the importance of this collection to a school, an institution such as Wittenberg? First, Wittenberg has its obligation to its own students. That is our primary responsibility. Secondly, we have a contribution to the broader area of scholarship, which means that these materials must be made available to anyone who has a need to use them.